Welcome to the Misfit broadcast. I'm your host, King Jucifer. Joining me today is my lovely co-host, Mr. Lukey Betts. Lukey Betts, say hi to the crowd for us.
Hi to the crowd for us.
I fucking can't stand your shit, dude. Anywho, so this week, or I believe it was this week or last week, Star Wars Episode 9 wrapped up filming and principal photography.
They did. They did.
And, I know a lot of people are still pretty fucking sour on our good old pal Ryan Johnson's, what was that one?
That was The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi. Yeah, I almost said Return of the Jedi, and that would have been fucking embarrassing.
Yeah,
so
you would have
that left a pretty.
That up. Like, thank God
yeah.
you corrected yourself, dude.
Yeah, I'm not I should not speak about Star Wars. I'm just not as knowledgeable, and I forget things way too easily. But going into it anyway. So, as we said, principal photography and filming wrapped up on Episode 9. So we're going to get into our predictions for what's going to happen in the movie. We haven't gotten the title of the movie yet or a premiere date for the trailer. But we figured, we're going to touch on our plot points that are still open. We'll go into it a little bit. And, hopefully you guys agree with some of our theories. Some of them you might think are dog shit. You can always comment down later on and let us know what you think. So, again, covering the third movie is going to cover the previous two. So there are spoilers ahead. This is your one and final warning. If you don't want to be spoiled because for whatever reason on God's green earth you haven't seen the previous two of this trilogy, now's your time to back the fuck out and not have anything ruined for you. In 3, 2, 1. All right. If you're not gone by now, it's too late.
It's way too late at this point.
So, we're probably going to jump around when we're covering these previous plot points. But so what's still open that you remember to be resolved or where we're at with certain characters? I know Luke is gone, as far as we know.
Luke
Leia
is gone. Leia, they have to cover a little bit. The big thing is basically what's going to happen between Kylo and Rey.
Right. So let's just make sure we touch base on this. Everyone we know is like alive or dead. So Poe is pretty much leading the resistance now with Leia, I believe, correct?
At this point, yes.
Okay. Akbar is gone, which that should piss me off. We're not going to get into that too much.
Rest in peace.
What's the deal with Rose and Finn? I don't remember what happened with them at the end. I know she got pretty fucked up.
They both survived. As far as I'm concerned, both those characters are expendable. So either they do something with Poe and Finn, or just kill somebody off.
My thing is, I liked Rose's story up until they intertwined it with Finn. It became the love story. Like, I really enjoyed where they started off with her, like her kind of like avenging her sister and, wanting to take them down because of that. But once it became this save the random horse animals part, and then like her random super stupid act of trying to save Poe and Finn and all that, none of it landed for me. None of it, like, it felt almost shoehorned in.
Her entire character just seems
flat.
Exactly what you said, just flat and shoehorned in. And
yeah. So I'm not super nuts about Rose. I'm hoping they kind of distance her from Finn in the third, if they even touch base on them at all. Hope they kind of distance it, let her become her own character, develop Finn more, because Finn, I had a lot of hype for Finn in the beginning of episode 7.
Yep.
Force Awakens. I was really like hopeful for this new kind of character type that we had not seen, at least outside of like
ex-stormtrooper. And from everything I researched, like, he was the top-notch stormtrooper.
Yeah, and then for whatever reason, I understand he doesn't want to really fight anymore, but like
the big thing was he was specific. From what I researched, he was specifically assigned to Phasma's platoon, and they were worried that he was too empathetical with his fellow troopers, which, as you know, in the Imperial Army just does not fly.
Yeah, empathy. If I can quote one of my favorite bands in the Star Wars universe, empathy is overrated.
Precisely.
So
precisely.
But my thing with Finn is that's where like there's kind of a disconnect for me in the Trail of Water, because empathy or not, I don't understand how he went from being a stormtrooper, even with a high level or high capacity for empathy, to almost like in this movie, he was very scared dog for a lot of it, and I feel like Finn has much more potential than they've given him in the last two movies, and they've been using him for more comedic relief than he should be used. I think he should be on the front lines. He needs to have a moment in Episode 9 for me where he's going to... Like, I'm hoping that Rose being hurt is going to make him step up and be more aggressive, assertive, and lead the charge kind of thing.
You gotta remember, even in The Last Jedi, which I know we have so many problems with, he had his moment with Phasma. Like, they faced off. Like, maybe there's potential for something to be built there.
And that's the thing. When they do have him square off with people, it's freaking awesome. It's so good.
Like
I really love...
He faced off with Kylo, even in The Force Awakens.
And that's my thing, because they've...
completely outclassed, but...
Exactly, but that's my thing. They've disproportionately given him comic relief moments versus his, like, action or, like, really brave, heroic moments, and it's watered the character down to an unpleasant point. So hopefully they'll turn that around in Episode 9, or at least leave the door open to expand on him maybe in a series. That'd be cool. Or I know they're doing more with the characters in the comics lately, so maybe we can dive into that another day.
Right,
with what they're doing.
That's definitely what Disney does. Is they just...
The comics have been good, dude. I've been really enjoying a lot of them.
The comics have been incredible, albeit they've touched base more upon what's already been established, but they've been great.
Which I'm fine with.
The Darth Vader comics have been absolutely amazing.
Oh, those were spectacular. I really enjoyed those. Like I said, my favorite panel, and it might not even be like the best panel out of them, it's just my personal favorite, is when, I forget the name of the planet he goes to, but he basically arrives kind of like an Alderaan type planet, goes to this big gala, and pretty much walks up to the leader of the planet, I guess you could say, with a rock in his hand. And I can't remember the exact exchange, but he pretty much tells the guy, the last person who did not like obey and serve me, this is what's left of their planet, and he gives them a fragment of Alderaan. Yeah, exactly. Fragment of Alderaan, and that was so sick, so dope, and the way they draw him in that really evokes that like darkness. It makes him look really good. So, like I said, hopefully they'll expand more on that. We'll dive into the comics on another point. So let's talk before we get to like the the Rey and Kylo stuff. Let's talk about what we think's going to go on with Luke, because he's been on set. I know he's going to be in it. He's listing the cast at least. So we seeing Force Ghost Luke. We seeing past Luke. Do we think Maz Kanata is going to come back?
No, we haven't seen Force Ghost Luke yet.
No, what I'm saying is, do you think we're going to?
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
I mean,
because that's my thing. He's obviously in this new movie. So
I think it's going to be a combination. It'll be Force Ghost as well as flashbacks.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm curious if they'll do the Force Ghost. I think they will, solely because of the fact that, like, if you brought Yoda's Force Ghost into the last one, I feel it will definitely, at least in some way, mirror the end of Return of the Jedi with Obi-Wan, Yoda.
And that's the important thing is, you know, they're trying to treat it like a trilogy, so we have to interpret it. I mean, like, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, they're trying to emulate the original ones, correct?
I mean, to a degree, which is where it feels weird sometimes, because for a lot of it...
But they'll put their own spin on it, right? Like,
well, that's my thing. So it's like, I like that it's supposed to touch on them, but it's one of those things for me where I feel like the first trilogy and then the prequel trilogy, even though I'm not super nuts about the prequels, I feel like they felt good enough.
The prequels gave answers.
It did. But that was my thing. Because the prequels answered a lot of things from the original trilogy, I feel like we almost didn't need to retread a version of the original trilogy. I kind of wish it was like still on these characters, but not as many mirrored shots or mirrored experiences to the previous, though I understand it all rolls into the whole rule of two thing, so that I get. I just want to see Luke in there, I think we'll definitely have more voiceover than anything from him, whether it be thoughts or, you know, some kind of like you said, flashback scenario. I would like to see him act. I'd like to see the Force Ghost actively be more powerful, since now we do have the capability with CG to make it look.
I mean, we already
better.
saw it in The Last Jedi with Yoda. So maybe Luke has that role where he's still able to influence a lot of what's going on, which I hope to God that's the case, because
My only beef with the Yoda thing is it got me too hyped, because now it's like, if Luke doesn't, you know, smite fucking Kylo with some lightning, I'm gonna be pretty disappointed, and I know that's not gonna happen.
and that brings up the other thing is just now you have, like, now we're looking at the final end of this trilogy, and you have to wonder, like, what's going to happen.
So you saw Solo. So I think the thing with the end of Solo is setting us up for. Well, that's what I'm torn actually. Is that the end of Solo, or is that the end of Last Jedi,
No,
where it's the
Solo
little boy? No, that is the Last Jedi. I'm wrong.
Solo
So the end of
took
Last Jedi,
place
I
way
think.
before that.
So I think that kid. I think the next time we see a trilogy, because I know Rian Johnson's working on a trilogy of his own for him, but I think that kid will eventually take place. Not be a future Jedi, but almost like.
Right.
Because obviously, with the books gone,
they're setting it up for future,
a new revamped Jedi
future.
Order. Because now that the books are gone, there's going to be like a different interpretation of it.
Which,
The thing I wonder is.
that doesn't matter at that point, but.
Well, it doesn't, but at the same time, it's giving them the wiggle room to have a clean start. Maybe bring in.
They're trying to keep going, which I understand, but.
Well, hopefully they'll connect Legends to it. Imagine that they.
Oh, I've been fingers crossed for like 3.5, 4, 5, 7, 12, my entire life, years.
For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about when I reference Legends, before Disney bought Star Wars and the rights to it, there was their own current canon that existed between the books and the movies, and then once Disney bought it, they retconned it, which all of the previous stories were now counted as legends. So like they still existed, but not canonically accurate or connected.
They didn't treat it like it was actually a part of the quote unquote timeline.
Yeah, they wanted to make their own timeline basically, and you know I don't hate it completely, but some of the greatest characters are trapped in Legends. So I see them getting rid of the books and hinting at a younger group of kids still believing in the Jedi.
They can't exactly get rid of the books. What they're doing is trying to put their own spin on it.
No, and I understand that, but here's my theory as far as the books, and I don't think they're going to do this. This is more my pie in the sky hope.
Moment.
What I think is if they get rid of the books, right,
Shit.
that's going to force kids to look more into the Order. They're going to try researching the Order. The Jedi Order themselves. They're going to look into it. They're going to do harder research. And because the Jedi have been gone already for the most part for a while, they're going to have to look harder. And they're going to start discovering the legends of, like, what's that? The thing from Rebels that Ezra goes to, where Darth Vader and Ahsoka fight. That thing called for the dark side.
Yeah, it was Malcor. It was a planet that was originally introduced in the Knights of the Old Republic game.
Yeah, but what was the item on there that they needed to get that's like related to the dark side? Holocron.
It was a holocron.
So imagine if he starts discovering some holocrons and he ends up finding out the legends of Revan are real. You know, bring Revan back into canon, bring Old Republic back into canon more. Like, not where they bring him into making him a current character, but set it up where, hey, there's this character that is a great Jedi that, you know, with all these things that no one thought were real, and now they're finding text about it, like actual like journals or documentation on it, and that allows them to do prequels with these more badass characters from Legends. That's my pie in the sky thing, what they're doing with getting rid of the books. But, you know, that's just what I hope. Do you want to keep talking about the books, or do you think we should move on to the coup de grace with Rey and Kylo?
I mean, at the end of the day, that is what we're forced to have to deal with for episode 9. It's between those two, and you have to admit, one of those characters is at least somewhat compelling. The other one, we have no idea what she is or where she comes from. Like, those need to be answered.
Yeah, so that leads to the one of the issues is, as far as I can tell from the interviews that have been conducted with everyone for episode 9, they're not retconning anything from
The Last Jedi, right?
from The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So that means, as far as we know, and that's not saying they're never going to, it's just in this movie they're not. So it's like,
JJ is going to treat it how he would treat it.
so my thing is this: if they're not retconning anything, you know, they could be lying, but they're not retconning anything from Last Jedi. Yeah, probably. But so they're not retconning anything from Last Jedi. That would require Rey's parents to actually be nobody. But then it also comes to the point where it's like, if they are nobody, is she really that much like Anakin, where she's another like immaculate conception type character to wield the Force? Which I'm fine with, because, you know, rule of 2, that's how it goes. Fine with that.
The thing is, in order to make this story have a complete arc, we got to find out everything about Rey. Because at this point, like, it's been 2 movies and she's still just a Mary Sue.
Yeah.
She just is remotely powerful and has no idea why. And she has no idea why. And that's the most important part about it. So, like, she needs answers. The number 2 thing is Kylo needs an arc. And Kylo is one of the characters in the new trilogy that I actually am starting to follow a little bit, because it's like they at least have kind of covered it a little more.
I agree. The thing with Kylo's character is I feel like he's already been on a kind of arc, but it definitely needs to wrap up. Because obviously they've gone the route of he was super beholden to Snoke, and now it's gotten to a point where he's like developed his own fucked up path to follow. But the nice thing with that is it brings us to this point where it's like he's got to choose a side of, like, because he's almost going about the anti-hero way, where his way of getting order is through doing bad, which, you know, some of my favorite characters in all of comics are like that, like Red Hood, for example. Even though he's a piece of shit, Punisher is another good example of that. So
my thing
can we learn to love Kylo, though, as an anti-hero?
Well,
or is he always going to be viewed as a villain?
My thing is, you know, he's a Vader fanatic at the end of the day, correct?
True.
That's
very
his grandfather. So they can pretty much only go one of 2 ways with it. Either he finds redemption, which is what they've been trying to set up from the start. They've been trying to be like, oh, he's so conflicted, like I mean, even in The Force Awakens, it's like the light is still trying to pull him back. But what I'm almost hoping happens is he is just so obsessed with it that they make him become an absolute psychopath.
Well, and that I kind of agree with you there. I think that they're leading us to believe that he's going to have a redemption arc like Anakin. And that's one thing I find very peculiar about Kylo and Rey, is it's almost like they're 2 halves of Anakin.
Right, exactly.
It's so weird because, like, before you had Luke and Anakin being, you know, their own individual characters, but this one, it literally feels like the essence of Vader split in 2.
I don't want a happy ending to this trilogy.
I don't think we're going to get one. Here's my thing. Because here's my thing. I think you're totally right about Kylo. I think he's hit a point where he's not going to be he's going to be irredeemable. There's going to be no anti-hero.
They're just trying to hint at it, like maybe like the whole scene with Leia.
Here's my thing. I think what they're going to do is this. I think Kylo is going to let Rey think he's going to, you know, help or save the day or whatever. He's going to try to betray her, and it's going to be, she's going to have her. Well, no, here's the thing. I don't think he's going to kill her. What I think is going to happen is Kylo is going to show or try to betray Rey in some capacity, and it's going to force her hand, and because she's such an inexperienced Jedi or any kind of like life experience in general, because she's always lived on that planet, Jakku, it's gonna cause it's gonna force her hand, and she's gonna have to make a split-second decision: do I kill Kylo to save the universe or not? And I think what it might set us up for is a following trilogy of maybe her pursuing the path of the Grey Jedi, where it's a combination of the light and the dark working coherently. I know it's not like the ideal way that we want to go, and I think it would be rushing the Grey Jedi thing too much in the movies, because we've never touched on it before. But maybe this could be our introduction. Like 1, 2, and 3 of the next trilogy could be her learning about the Grey Jedi, or like her discovering that on her own, and we just arrive at it as like the Grey Jedi is now a thing and it had not been one before, or something to that degree.
All right, see, my thing is, the entirety of the Star Wars movies have always been centered around one family, the Skywalkers, correct?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Right, exactly. And albeit like they've expanded on it, yada, yada, yada. My thing is, Rey, as of right now, is not a Skywalker. Kylo Ren is the next Skywalker. And the Skywalkers are, we're like batting 50-50 here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but here's the other thing. I get that, but you also got to remember, who were the Skywalkers before Anakin? Nothing. They were nobodies. They had no importance. So she could be the new Anakin through that Immaculate Conception. This could be the new lineage of Skywalker character in the universe without Skywalker attached to their name.
Well, the whole idea was it was the chosen one, which all this...
Yeah, you don't always know who the fucking chosen one is?
It was always Anakin. It was always supposed to be Anakin.
Okay, but you also had... First off, the prophecies are super vague. They never say Anakin Skywalker is our hero. They're very vague, which leaves it open for it to be multiple people, as most prophecies do. On top of that, you have the fact that when it comes to Anakin, you had the entire existence of the Jedi Order around. You had multiple Jedis able to collectively focus their Force energy to detect this Force, to detect this person. All you have left right now are Kylo. Well, prior to Episode 8,
you
had Luke, Kylo, and Rey. One has 0 Force experience. One has given up on the Force for the most part, and the other one is already corrupted by the dark side. So, and they've already hinted about detecting a great power in Rey, said by Snoke, Kanata, Luke, and Kylo. So all the precedents are there for her to be the new Anakin figure of the universe, of the chosen one.
And that's where we tie back to what Disney's doing, trying to interpret Legends, because in Legends there was Jaqen and Jaina Solo.
Right. I remember you told me a little bit about that. You want to go over a brief thing for the listeners so they know?
Jaina Solo were basically the birth childs of Han and Leia. They were both very Force sensitive, and they were both Luke's Padawans at some point. This is Disney. I can sit here and talk to you about interpretations all day, but it just...
But that's not a bad... Do you think that's a bad route to go, though? Because here's my thing. If that is their interpretation of Legends, I like them not making them both be Han and Leia's kid, because by doing the separation of their lineage, you finally leave us room to not follow the fucking Skywalkers again. Like, take the Harry Potter series, for example. I'm not hyped for this new post series. Like, I like Harry Potter and all that, but like, we're gonna follow another Potter. That's not what I want to do, and that's the same thing with Star Wars. I don't want to follow Skywalkers anymore. We followed the Skywalkers for 9 freaking movies, and then a ton of other shows.
But
we need to walk away from them.
You have to remember, the entirety of the Star Wars story was based around the Skywalkers.
But at the same time, you have Legends. Like,
right, you have
at the end of the day, characters only live for so long.
Clone Wars and Rebels, like, you and I can go back and forth for days about
But what I'm saying is
characters.
life goes on. The original trilogy, yes, was about the Skywalkers. But Star Wars since
Right,
then has
and that's
expanded
what
to so much
Disney's-
more.
And that's what Disney is trying to do, which is expand beyond the Skywalkers.
But you have an issue with that, though? That's what I'm confused with. Like, it sounds like you don't like that.
I think the way it's set up right now, they're trying to put an ending to a story that already had an ending.
It's not so much I think it's had an ending, it's that chapter of the story, because that's the problem. I feel like you're seeing it as Luke and them being the entire story.
No,
you need to start
absolutely
seeing it
not.
as Star. But that's my thing. That's how
Absolutely
it's coming off.
not, though.
So that's my thing. That chapter, that volume, that whatever you want to call it in the trilogy, in the story, had its ending, and now it is time for a new book that does, or new story that doesn't follow these same characters. We can't say we want more Star Wars and then ask them to hold it within the same family. You have this expansive universe and we're going to follow the same family tree forever. That's so boring after a while.
Maybe that's exactly what they're trying to do, because you look at Kylo Ren. He's the last Skywalker, quote unquote. But maybe like they're gonna have Rey be this new character that starts a new, like I've researched everything. Like she might be a Kenobi. She might be like, maybe let's just let it play out.
That's fine. Like I said, my prediction is they're gonna go the Immaculate Conception route, a la Anakin in the prequels. But we still need to know who the fuck her mom is. I just want to goddamn know.
If I would see anything in this movie, I would love to see Anakin, finally.
But which Anakin? Do you want old man Anakin or do you want Hayden Christensen? I'm fine with either. I feel like I gave Hayden Christensen a lot of guff for no reason as a kid.
It has to be Hayden.
Here's my thing. I gave that guy so much crap when we were younger, and I feel so bad for it now because he's not a bad actor. His lines and everything were written badly. He was young. They clearly didn't give him much criticism on set.
Anakin Skywalker, at the end of the day, on the full screen, is Hayden Christensen.
It's I hate Sanderson.
Yeah. But, I mean, like, there was all the extra cartoons, like Matt Lanner portrayed Anakin in the Clone Wars and whatnot, and I think he killed it.
Oh, that version was so good. That version is what redeemed Anakin of the prequels to me. Because I did not care for him prior to the Rebels and the Clone Wars.
That's what I'm saying. Like, maybe that was their plan. Like,
could be.
Maybe or maybe not. We can never be sure.
Until it shows up in front of us, we'll never know. Or in 50 years when they release like their planning documents or something like that.
We can never be sure about what Mickey Mouse is actually planning for anybody.
As long as Mr. Mouse gets paid.
Mickey Mouse is a spokesperson for Disney now, right?
I mean, pretty sure he always has been.
Right. I mean,
all right, so recap our last prediction on that. I think she's going to end up becoming the Immaculate Conception, a la Anakin. I think Kylo's going to force her hand. She's going to end up killing him to save the greater galaxy. And it's going to lead us into the next trilogy, I'm assuming directed by Rian Johnson, where it'll explore her path, making her own version of the Jedi Order, and see where that takes us.
Whereas I completely disagree with that statement. I think...
Well, let's hear your view then, Mr. Betts. Let's hear your view.
I hope that...
A New Hope?
Exactly. I hope that they basically treat it at the end of the Skywalker trilogy. Like, Kylo will fucking murder everybody, and then basically, like, we're stuck with that. We're stuck with this clown as a fucking leader, and we just gotta keep going.
By clown, you mean...
Kylo.
Okay. I think clown's a little harsh.
see, and that's the difference. I hope that they finally develop that character.
Well, I definitely think you're right where he's going to completely lose his shit. Like, by the end of the last movie, you could see it in his eyes that he's going to go absolutely bonkers. Like the carnage of Star Wars, basically.
I'm hoping, to be honest, like, I studied Darth Vader. Like, he was, like, we all know Darth Vader and against Star Wars. Like, he was heartbroken.
I mean, I don't even know who those characters are.
Right. Like, we all know his story, but I'm hoping, and I've been thinking about it, that Kylo's character is so schizophrenic and so just out of his damn mind that he is literally just, he will do whatever the first thing that comes to his mind.
Well, you got to give, to a degree, you got to sympathize with Kylo. He had his parents send him to go train with his uncle.
Right.
He trains with his uncle. Uncle tries to effing kill him. Then he goes to get a new master on the dark side. That guy tries to kill him. So it's like, guy's got some serious PTSD, a lot of trauma.
We gotta have a whole nother talk about Snoke, but
yeah, we'll do that for a whole separate podcast where we just speculate on Snoke origins and all that crap.
But I'm hoping Kylo Ren just becomes unhinged and just goes crazy.
I personally hope neither die. I really hope that, like, if anything, I'd like to see, like I said, Rey's hand be forced and she at least thinks she kills Kylo, and then him finally get what he wanted and become disformed or disabled to a point where he becomes Vader in mind and body.
See, because what better way to become Vader than murder the girl that you think can become your apprentice or whatever? Like, I hope Rey dies. I hope Rey dies.
Well, I'm glad you're letting me know how you really feel. I'm torn because I feel like it's necessary for at least one of them to die, but I don't really want to see either one die. But that's our point of view on it. Those are our theories. We'll see what one pans out. Probably neither of them, because we're not Hollywood professionals. If we wouldn't be recording this for you today.
And quite frankly, Disney is not releasing shit, so we're probably both wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting a trailer by the middle of summer with no title for it. It'll just say Episode 9, and then we might get the title, like, when does it come out?
From what I've seen, a trailer should be released with the new Avengers.
Yeah, see, I'm thinking so, but I'm not gonna believe it till I see it. What's the release date for it?
November.
Of next year? I mean, of this year?
This year.
Okay, so maybe we'll be attached to Endgame. I thought they'd hold off because they didn't show shit at the Super Bowl, obviously.
Yeah,
but also you got to think,
which was kind of surprising, actually.
Well, and we're not going to discuss it now because there's really no need. But one of the things that I have to say with the Super Bowl, they don't really do what's it called? I think everyone's learning that viral marketing is much cheaper and more efficient than Super Bowl ads. So we probably won't see any more big trailers in the next couple of years. But like I said,
can I bring a point up?
All right, quick point, and then we got to piece the fuck out.
Right. So I watched the trailer for the new fucking Frozen movie, whatever that is.
The what movie?
Frozen.
Oh, Frozen.
See, I watched the trailer for that. Let me finish. What they did...
Fine, but whatever you say, I'm not going to let it go.
No, what they did, I think, was fucking brilliant. Because I watched that trailer, and all the comments I saw was literally just like, what the fuck is this movie about? And I think,
those are my favorite kind of trailers, though.
And I think Star Wars could do that. I think if this final movie comes out and they just show a scene where, like, Rey and Kylo are just fighting with lightsabers, like, what better way to entice people?
Oh, you'd sell me hard. But
exactly.
All right. Sounds...
We'll discuss that later.
Yeah, we'll delve into that another time. Anyways, thank you everyone for listening. I'm King Jucifer.
I am Loogie Bet.
You can find me at King Jucifer on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
You can't find me anywhere.
because he's a hermit and lives under a rock. You can also follow us at Misfit Broadcast on Facebook. We don't have an Instagram or Twitter going.
We do have a website.
A
new website coming out soon.
Yeah, we have a new website coming out with some of our previous stuff between films that Luke here has worked on, as well as some older episodes of the podcast when we first started out. We're also going to start doing a blog where I'm going to start doing some reviews of movies and stuff.
We got a lot of stuff coming, guys.
Yeah, it's just a little bit faster to type out a review here and there and then just do a big podcast as often as I can. The podcasts are time consuming and, we're both very busy boys. So, again, thank you guys for listening.
Signing
we appreciate
off,
it.
Thank you very much for paying attention to us.
Yeah, thank you again. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Show your friends. Have a good night.
Thank you.